Morning adventurers. This morning I am hiking to Deer Creek with my brother Charlie and one of our really good friends Brandon.
What's up, bikers?
Oh good, my mouth.
Both of them have not been backpacking in more than a decade, and so we're going out to get them back into the sport, and hopefully they'll come on a few more trips in the future. We're doing about 7 miles altogether, 3.5 today out to the camp and 3.5 back. I actually recorded this video. It was, I believe, my first video on this channel. I just kind of did a silent walk along through the woods with some music. So today, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it and fill you in on how cool this area is. We're close to the Mazatzal Wilderness in central Arizona. Come along on the adventure. So we have finally crossed the confluence of the South Fork of Deer Creek, where it meets up with the North Fork, which it's not called the North Fork of Deer Creek, it's just Deer Creek. Don't know why they have that delineation, but Deer Creek actually looks pretty muddy today. It's probably because of all the rain, so it's not just pure snowmelt. But it's funny because the South Fork was relatively clear. We'll see what it's like at camp because we have one more confluence to pass. So maybe the mud's all coming from one side of that. I'm hoping. Let's see where this adventure goes.
No, that's kind of where I'm. Oh, that's. It just is weird. Hard to get something.
Oh, you dropped it. Hello, adventurers. We're just now to our campsite for the night, just about. We're camping by a gravesite. Our friend David Gowan, or Davey Gowan. He was actually, I think I talked to him about him in one of my EZT videos. He was the first European guy to come down to a lot of this area and explore it. And he's actually the one that discovered Tonto Natural Bridge, which is a really well-known state park here in Arizona. It's a huge travertine arch. It's really crazy. Yeah, this guy used to live actually over this mountain behind me in a cabin. He lived a pretty solitary life from in the 1840s. It was when he was born. He died in the 1920s. The legend has it that they found him out here without one of his shoes on. They never found his other shoe. At least that's what the Scoutmaster said when I came through here my first time. This is one of my favorite hikes from my childhood, and I'm excited to share it all with you.
I'm kind of impressed, honestly. Like, the fact that he lived 83 years when, like, that was a time where people just did not live like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that lifespan is insane for that time.
And he lived it rough. Like,
yeah,
he was out
really
in the bush.
rough. Yeah.
I guess it keeps you young or something.
Yeah.
He actually had an orchard a bit further up this way, and a buddy of mine and I hiked there a couple years back. That's part of that story that I shared also on the AZT, where we had to claw our way up a hillside with cat claw. Not a good time. I'll link that up here. All right, guys, shall we find camp?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ready? Let's go. Hey, friends. Finally made it to camp. It's a little overcast. Honestly, really chill. Good spot. The river right behind me is actually flowing more than I've ever seen it flow before. It's probably because we had a giant rainstorm come through here just yesterday, and it rained basically all week. I was actually supposed to section hike part of the AZT with these guys, but it ended up not working out because there was flash flooding because we were going to be hiking right on the Gila. So it's definitely a great hike to get these guys reintroduced back into backpacking, because initially we were going to do like 37 miles in 3 days, and instead we did like 3.5 today, and we're going to do 3.5 tomorrow. And honestly, I think we're all going to enjoy it more, and it's more of a relaxation thing instead of a let's see what we can do thing. So I'm really excited to see how the rest of today goes. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. We have some elk steak to cook over the fire, some you know, good people, good food, good place. Talk to you guys soon. In one of the strangest cases of an invasive species I've ever seen, there's this cherry blossom tree. Maybe I'm misidentifying it, but I've never seen something like this in the desert here. It's crazy beautiful though. Crazy beautiful. But just because something is beautiful does not mean that it necessarily belongs. It looked like there was a butterfly over there pollinating it when I stopped by though, so maybe it's doing something. Hopefully it doesn't pressure other species out of the area though. Our afternoon was full of camaraderie and blissful recounting of hiking stories from our youth. But once night fell, my brother started to feel unwell. He skipped dinner and retired to his tent early in the night, complaining of nausea. Thinking he was just a bit dehydrated from the day, being none of us really drink much water, I encouraged him to drink a bit and rest up. I didn't think much of it. Once morning broke, I left my tent to find Brandon stoking a flame in the fire pit, but no sign of Charlie. Morning, friends. Sorry I didn't talk much last night. I kind of just realized that just such a blur. We were having a great time just catching up and doing camp stuff, you know. We had a nice little fire. There's our grill grate, remnants of our elk steakage last night. We actually saw a coati come through camp last night. It's the first one I've ever seen in Arizona in the wild. It was absolutely crazy. We're sitting around the fire and we saw glowing eyes coming from a tree. We're like, oh God, what is that? Walk up and it's this cute, cuddly little guy. I got some footage I'll show you guys right here. Look at how cute he is. I just wanted to snuggle him. He hung out for like 5 minutes and then we let him be, so he had an escape route, but pretty cool experience. As Brandon and I cooked up our various breakfast foods, I mixed up some half-strength Gatorade for Charlie, hoping to load him up with some sugar and electrolytes for the hike back. He refused even light solid foods we suggested he try, in fear he couldn't keep them down. At first, I still thought he was dehydrated, but then it became apparent how drained of strength he was. Hardly able to stand, very wobbly on his feet, we began to prepare for the hike back because we didn't have another choice. After Brandon and I loaded up our gear, we went into action, helping Charlie get his equipment loaded up and divvying some of his heavier equipment between the two of us. Once we got Charlie relatively stabilized, we started back to the trailhead. The first challenge was to cross the river, swollen from the snowmelt. This proved to be quite the undertaking for Charlie, even though he wasn't wearing his backpack. The knee-deep torrent of water made an attempt to pull him downstream, but his footing held. At this point, I was worried for the coming elevation change with several slippery sections of exposed washout. Hoping to not let that thought manifest into reality, I focused on the challenges as they came. Luckily, the big climb for the day was first thing out of camp, so everyone had their freshest legs on for the hardest part. We took the climb slow, which gave us ample time to appreciate the raw beauty of the Mazatzal range, and give Charlie plenty of time to catch his breath. So guys, when we came out here, it had rained for like 3 or 4 days solid up in these mountains and down where we live. And there was some significant rainfall, just consistent, not really a downpour in most areas. There was some hail in my hometown, it was kind of nuts. But when we first came out here yesterday, this creek was a lot higher. And that's from all that rainwater. And now you can see there's a lot less silt in the creek. I don't know if you can tell in the video, I can tell, standing here. It's a lot more clear. And so here's the trail over here. Yesterday, the river was up to the mud, like right here. And now, as you can see, it's already receded quite significantly. It was up to here. We commented this morning like, oh, I think that it's a little bit lower, and now, you know, it's measurably lower. That's kind of crazy. Really interesting how you can see it change just in one night out here. Really nuts. As I've said many times on this channel, nature is a verb. The trail descended off of rolling hills as they eventually gave way to the gradual floodplain of Deer Creek. This made for an easy hike for the majority of our journey until we got to our last climb out from the Deer Creek floodplain, where the South Fork comes to confluence with the main branch of Deer Creek. The seemingly easy climb from the creek proved to be quite the challenge for us as we pressed on up the hill, baking in the afternoon sun. Even with many breaks, by the top of the last hill, Charlie was spent. Humor was sparing amongst us, group morale and energy was low. We trudged on. We finally made our way to the last ridgeline and began our descent. With the car in sight, everyone had a second wind. We made it back safely, but we had all learned a new lesson out there. Even the easiest of hikes can be made much more difficult when the variable of illness is added. This weekend, we were originally planning a 37-mile section hike of the AZT, but inclement weather robbed us of a day, so we had to find a backup plan. It could have been much worse had this happened 15 miles in the middle of the desert. I consider us very lucky. Many of the symptoms Charlie was exhibiting were similar to those of COVID-19. Later in the week, he reported to have tightness in his chest and persistent weakness. Although he went to the doctor seeking a test, he was unable to receive one due to not knowingly being in contact with anyone from overseas. So we'll never know what caused the situation, but I'll have you all know he is healthy now and we're hoping to get out adventuring some more soon. Thank you for watching today's video. If you liked the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. In the comment section below, let me know some of the newbie backpacking mistakes you made in your experiences out in the woods. Thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.